We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Pax Silica, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold bilateral talks with the visiting Brazilian President Lula da Silva, strengthening ties in trade, critical minerals, defense, energy and digital tech on agenda. India AI Impact Summit in New Delhi concludes with infrastructure-related investment that have crossed $250 billion, reflecting growing global confidence in India's AI infrastructure ecosystem. Expo to end today. Trump signs global 10% tariff on all countries, hours after the Supreme Court ruled his levies on imports as illegal. Amid the growing tensions, Iran signals openness to diplomacy to prepare nuclear deal draft in days as Trump considering limited military strike. And in sports, Super 8 matches of T20 Cricket World Cup begins. India to face South Africa on Sunday. And on to the details now. India is stepping into the next phase of its AI journey with AI Mission 2.0. Building on the momentum of the India AI Impact Summit, the government is now focusing on advanced foundational models, sovereign compute capacity and stronger safety frameworks. The message is clear. India aims to lead the future of responsible and high-performance artificial intelligence. Here's more in this report.
Artificial intelligence is redefining economies, governance and societies worldwide, and India is now firmly embedded in that transformation. Launched on February 16, the India AI Impact Summit brought together representatives from nearly 120 countries. Among the prominent attendees were French President Emmanuel Macron and Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, alongside heads of state and senior delegations from 20 nations.
This AI Impact Summit has been a grand success on many fronts. The quality of participation, the quality of dialogue was phenomenal. Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's vision of Manav AI, which is AI of the humans, by the humans, for the humans. I think that was very well accepted.
The government termed the summit as a major success. As per official records, more than 500,000 people participated in the conference, and the level of discussions was of a very high quality. During the summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi presented his vision of human AI, which was widely appreciated. Many countries praised India's efforts towards building a responsible and inclusive global AI framework. 70 countries have supported the AI Summit outcome document, and the number is expected to reach 80. During the summit, announcements were made for investments worth $250 billion in AI infrastructure and $25 billion in venture capital funding. As part of the broader roadmap, government would soon begin work on AI Mission 2.0, a next-generation strategy aimed at building advanced foundational AI models, expanding common compute infrastructure, strengthening safety frameworks, and deepening capabilities across the entire AI stack. The mission will focus on developing sovereign, high-performance AI systems while ensuring responsible and ethical deployment.
We'll very soon start working on the AI Mission 2.0, which will be definitely bigger than what it was in the AI Mission 1.0. Many of the goals we had set for ourselves in the Mission 1.0 are on the verge of getting completed, and many of them have actually exceeded. So now we have to set bigger goals and achieve them as a part of the AI Mission 2.0.
Among 4 global AI conferences held so far, this was the largest in scale and participation. The India AI Impact Summit not only advanced conversations on innovation, but also reinforced ethical and responsible AI governance. Through this initiative, India has projected growing technological confidence and signaled its intent to emerge as a leading voice in shaping the future of artificial intelligence. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, India has formally joined Pax Silica, the US-led effort on artificial intelligence and supply chain security on the sidelines of the India AI Impact Summit 2026 being held in New Delhi. Pax, which is Latin for peace, denotes peace, stability and prosperity. On the fifth day of India AI Impact Summit, India formally joined Pax Silica, the US-led alliance on artificial intelligence and supply chain security. The declaration was signed by Secretary S. Krishnan, US Under-Secretary Jacob Hellberg and US Ambassador to India Sergio Gore. Hellberg hailed India joining Pax Silica, noting that it underscores the importance of economic security translating into national security.
Our fundamental mission is not resistance, it's renewal. We are forging a supply chain that is the foundation for prosperity. We are building a new architecture that diffuses intelligence, placing the awesome power of AI into the palm of our people's hands and unleashing a wave of unprecedented possibility.
Gore said that India's entry into Pax Silica is not just symbolic, it is strategic and essential.
India's entry into Pax Silica isn't just symbolic, it's strategic, it's essential. India is a nation with deep talent, deep enough to rival challengers. India's engineering depth offers critical capabilities for this vital coalition.
At the ceremony, Union Minister of Electronics and Information Technology, Ashwini Vaishnaw, said that India is not just holding a summit here, but building the future.
India is a trusted country, and that's because our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji has conducted the foreign policy in a way where that trust and respect, the respect of a 5,000-year-old civilization, that gravitas that जो भारत की civilization का ठहराव है, वो ठहराव आज दुनिया मानती है, वो gravitas आज दुनिया मानती है, और इसीलिए भारत पे trust.
Launched in December 2025, Pax Silica is US Department of State's flagship effort on AI and supply chain security, advancing new economic security consensus among allies and trusted partners. It applies to the foundations of modern AI and computing. The initiative aims to build a secure, resilient, innovation-driven technology ecosystem spanning critical minerals, energy, advanced manufacturing, semiconductors, AI infrastructure, and logistics. Its core objectives are to reduce coercive dependencies, to partner to secure global tech supply chains, to address AI supply chain opportunities and vulnerabilities, to exploring joint investment, and to protect sensitive technologies and build trusted digital infrastructure. Pax Silica signatories are India, Australia, Greece, Israel, Japan, Qatar, South Korea, Singapore, UAE, and UK. Pax Silica highlights technological revolution in AI is accelerating, increasingly reorganizing the world economy and reshaping global supply chains. Bureau Report, DD India. Well, the India AI Impact Summit Expo has been extended by a day till February 21st, citing an overwhelming response from visitors and exhibitors. The summit was earlier scheduled to conclude on the February 20th. On Friday, the theme of ethics and AI took center stage at India AI Impact Summit. The session titled Keeping Humanity in the Loop While Innovating, explored how human-centered, rights-based approaches can shape trustworthy and inclusive AI at scale. The session examined how transparency, accountability, and shared values can strengthen public trust while enabling innovation across sectors.
If you integrate ethical reflection in the design of AI systems, of course, if you do that, AI systems will be more respected, more trustworthy, more used, and therefore more broadly deployed across society. So I see ethics and innovation really reinforcing each other. And quite often at UNESCO we say AI systems have to be ethical by design. It should be done ex ante, not ex post. Not when we see mistakes and hazards and risks and harmful impact of AI, we say, wait a minute, let's go back to see what went wrong in those models, in the data sets. Are there some biases?
Oversight has to be built into the entire development process from design to commercialization. And it has to be built with the right flag-offs at every part of the design and development process. If you do that and you're able to, red tape the product that you are developing at every single stage to certain standards that have been developed, you are going to develop something that, and then hopefully after the entire development phase, there's also a sandbox where you test out the impact. You will get to a stage where ethics becomes by design versus an afterthought.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in the groundbreaking ceremony of the HCL Foxconn joint venture project, India Chip Private Limited, in Uttar Pradesh via video conferencing. The establishment of the HCL Foxconn Semiconductor facility marks a significant milestone in India's journey towards technological self-reliance. The project is aligned with the government's efforts to strengthen domestic manufacturing capabilities, reduce import dependence, and build resilient global supply chains. It is expected to play a crucial role in supporting key sectors such as automotive, consumer electronics, and other devices. Through this initiative, India's semiconductor ecosystem will receive a major boost, fostering innovation, skill development, and technology transfer. The facility is also expected to create thousands of direct and indirect employment opportunities. And still to come in this edition of DT India Live. Violent protests erupt in Tirana as opposition demands resignation over Deputy PM corruption scandal. And T20 World Cup Super 8 kicks off today. New Zealand face Pakistan in opening Super 8 game.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you.
Represent save your.
You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. The US Supreme Court on Friday rejected Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs under a law meant for use in national emergencies are illegal. In a 6-3 ruling, the Supreme Court said that the tariff policies under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act are unconstitutional, officially striking down the global tariffs Trump had introduced since April. The justices ruled that the president did not have the authority under the IEEPA to impose import tariffs on goods from nearly all the U.S. trading partners. The voting upheld that it is the right of Congress to impose taxes, not the president. On the same day, Trump called the Supreme Court decision a disgrace to the country. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump imposed an additional 10% tariff on imports into the United States after the Supreme Court struck down many of his sweeping and often arbitrary duties. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said, "It is my great honor to have just signed from the Oval Office a global 10% tariff on all countries, which will be effective almost immediately." Trump's announcement comes after the Supreme Court invalidated tariffs that had been imposed under the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Those earlier duties ranged from 10% to 50%. Also, Trump confirmed that his administration is launching new country-specific investigations under Section 301 of the 1974 Trade Act. Trump said these steps are to protect our country from unfair trading practices of other countries and companies. Trump suggested that even higher tariffs could follow. Earlier in the day, Trump told reporters he was using Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974 to bring in the fresh duties. The rarely used provision allows the president to impose tariffs of up to 15% for up to 150 days to address serious balance of payments issues. It does not require a lengthy investigation. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the new 10% tariff, along with possible actions under other trade laws, would ensure that tariff revenues remain largely unchanged in 2026. As we told you, U.S. President Donald Trump imposed an additional 10% tariff on imports into the United States after the Supreme Court struck down many of his sweeping and often arbitrary duties. And in a post on Truth Social, Trump said, "It is my great honor to have just signed from the Oval Office a global 10% tariff on all countries, which will be effective almost immediately." And for more on this, we have Akhilesh Suman joining us on the phone line. Well, Akhilesh, good morning. After the Supreme Court rebuked many of the Trump's previous tariffs, as we know, President Trump responded by imposing a 10% global tariff for 150 days. How should this move be interpreted as of now?
Actually, this move is quite more confusing than the earlier, because when court says that those tariffs were invalid, everyone was thinking that whether now the whole old tariff returned or not, and maybe the company will have to go into litigation individually. But the question remains that if the companies goes into litigation and if the companies get refund, whether the customers will get the refund or not, because how customers will get the refund as they have already paid. No one will be having the bills, and if they have to get the bills, if they have to produce the bills, it will be long queue everywhere around the country. So the court ruling did not address this issue, but they were explaining, experts were explaining that companies may try to get the refunds, they can go to court, but individually only. Democrats were also telling the same way. But in a more sensationalizing matter, Mr. Trump, who came to a press briefing, and then he said that 10% more tariffs will be imposed. But, he mentioned that the negotiated agreements between countries will remain valid. But this is also again coming from the White House that it will be across the board. So it is more confusion than earlier, because earlier it was very clear that all countries will pay tariffs, whatever in different tariffs for different countries. But now 10% tariff is still confusing, that whether the countries with whom Trump has gone into negotiation, the US has already negotiated or are in the process of negotiation. What will happen to those? So, but it is questioning the whole, intention of American administration, that how they want to deal with the world. They are respecting the agreements they have made or not. So it is creating much more confusion than it was
Absolutely,
existing
more
earlier.
confusion as of now. Thank you so much, Akhilesh, for all those details. And in the aftermath of U.S. Supreme Court's ruling against Trump's tariffs, Governor J.P. Pritzker sent Donald Trump an invoice on Friday demanding nearly $9 billion in tariff refunds for Illinois families after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled the president's much-touted tariffs are illegal. Early on Friday, California Governor Gavin Newsom said the money Trump's tariffs had raised came from U.S. voters' pockets and should be refunded. Moving on, Iran and the United States are sliding rapidly towards military conflict as hopes fade for a diplomatic solution to their standoff over Tehran's nuclear program. Iran's Gulf neighbors and Israel now consider a conflict to be more likely than a settlement, with Washington building up one of its biggest military deployments in the region. Israel's government said Tehran and Washington are making preparations for possible joint military action, though no decision has been made yet on whether to carry out such an operation. 2 rounds of Iran-US talks have stalled on core issues from uranium enrichment to missiles and sanctions relief. After talks in Geneva on Tuesday, Arakchi said the sides had agreed on guiding principles, but the White House said there was still distance between them. Iran is expected to submit a written proposal in the coming days, a U.S. official said, and Arakchi said on Friday he expected to have a draft counter proposal ready within days. But Trump warned Iran on Thursday it must make a deal over its nuclear program or really bad things will happen. U.S. officials say Trump has yet to make up his mind about using military force, although he acknowledged on Friday that he could order a limited strike to try to force Iran into a deal. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is due to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on February 28 to discuss Iran. A senior U.S. official said it would be mid-March before all U.S. forces were in place. And moving on to another breaking news coming in right now. The U.S. military struck a vessel in the Eastern Pacific, killing 3 men, the latest such incident in recent months. Footage released by U.S. Southern Command on X showed a strike on a military vessel. President Donald Trump's administration has touted its success at taking out suspected drug trafficking vessels in the area. The military said in a post on X the vessel was engaged in narco trafficking operations. Well, another breaking news coming in. The U.S. military struck a vessel in the Eastern Pacific, killing 3 men, the latest such incident in recent months. Footage released by the U.S. Southern Command on X showed a strike on a military vessel. President Donald Trump's administration has touted its success at taking out suspected drug trafficking vessels in the area. The military said in a post on X the vessel was engaged in narco trafficking operations. Well, moving on, clashes erupted in Albania's capital, Tirana, as opposition supporters took to the streets demanding the resignation of Albanian government following corruption allegations against Deputy Prime Minister Belinda Baluku. The protests turned violent as demonstrators hurled petrol bombs and fireworks at the Prime Minister Edi Rama's office, prompting police to use tear gas and water cannons to control the crowd. Political tensions escalated since December after a special prosecution unit accused Deputy PM Baluku of interfering in public tenders and favouring certain companies. An anti-corruption court has suspended Baluku from office, while the Special Prosecution Office, tasked with fighting corruption, has demanded Parliament lift her immunity to enable her arrest. Prime Minister Rama, whose Socialist Party holds a strong parliamentary majority, has complained about judicial overreach, especially with pre-trial detentions. Also, Albania aims to join the European Union by the year 2030, continues to face pressure from the Union to strengthen its fight against corruption and organised crime. And in sports news, New Zealand will lock horns with Pakistan in the opening game of the Super 8 at the T20 World Cup in Colombo today. The New Zealand middle order's ability to mount a strong response when faced with the guile and variety in Pakistan's spin unit could be the deciding factor. In contrast, Pakistan have been stationed in this port city since the beginning of the World Cup and have already played 2 matches at the Premadasa International Cricket Stadium. India will face South Africa in this first Super 8s match of the Men's T20 World Cup 2026. The high-voltage match between the top finalists of the 2024 edition will be played at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad on Sunday. Both India and South Africa managed to win all 4 matches played in the group stage, and they will be eager to extend their winning run to 5 matches on Sunday. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Pax Silica from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.